Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Shoe Podcast, the only sneaker podcast that is not clickbaiting you with the title. I'm your co-host, Ryan Landry.
I'm your co-host, Tanner Young.
Back with the first episode in a while. Back with the last episode for a while.
For a while.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry we took a little break there. We were going for, I just checked, the entire month of May. We did one episode at the beginning of May, and then we were gone for all of it. And now we're back, but really just kind of to tell you goodbye for now. That's the working title I have for this episode. I feel like that's appropriate. That doesn't sound too dramatic.
See you later.
It's a see you later. Yeah, it's not a gone forever. But we were literally just saying before we hit record, we don't know how long we're going to talk for right now. We don't really have a written agenda or anything, but just felt like it was appropriate to come on here and let everyone know we are taking a break. We're putting a pause, whatever you call it, on the podcast for however long it goes for. Just, yeah, I don't know. You got anything you want to add? I feel like we could kind of like, the only kind of structure I kind of wanted to have is like take a little time. We can explain to people maybe why we're taking a break. And then before we wrap it up, we probably got a lot of people to thank for we just celebrated our 6-year anniversary last month. So 6 years of this, probably a lot of people we should stop and thank, but anything you want to add in?
Literally any interview we did is always, and then, there's a countless people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of how it is. It's just, like I said, we could take a break. Don't really know how long. Just gonna kind of step back, hang out, just kind of chill. And just kind of see where the wind takes us. Maybe one of those things where something pops up and it's just like an Instagram DM of like, do we just run it? Random little.
Back out of the blue.
Hey,
I think
it might happen.
We're both kind of at the point right now in our lives where we are obviously not the guys we were 6 years ago, but we are not just all that obsessed with sneakers in the way that I think necessitates talking about it on the internet for an hour every week, like I'm at the point now. We kind of got to the point at the beginning of the year where like you were a little more cooled off on it, but I was still pretty like keen on it. So I was like, that's cool. Like I can kind of like come with the topics to the table, and then like we're still both interested enough to talk about it. But at least over the past couple of months for me, I've just been kind of less and less all that invested in it, and like nothing that's coming out is exciting me that much, and I'm not buying that much. And it's just, that's just the way life goes sometimes, you kind of fall into hobbies, out of hobbies, stuff like that.
Oh yeah. And it's one of the, like, I think it's just one of those things where I think the like, maybe not obsession, but like close to that has kind of, like you said, kind of faded. I think a lot of it is just different, like, things popping up in life, or like, I know for sure me recently, like, I guess spending more time kind of off the internet has been something just like as like a general thing, just for like, I guess, again, like you said, like life, and then more of like a mental thing. And so the downside to that is that you, like you said, you kind of fall behind to stuff. And I think it's also just like, I don't know, maybe sometimes like certain titles just don't, I guess, like grab me as much as they kind of did. And it's, I guess, been like, I'm still like, okay, what's coming out? What are some big releases? What are some cool things that are happening? What are our local kind of like shops doing? But I know for me, kind of like you said, like in the sense of like the big things that are going on within the culture or the companies themselves has been less of something that I've been like, I guess, like super, super diving into.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel like I'm seeing at least the foreseeable future of the podcast playing out, is that like the projects that the local shops are doing and the occasional interviews where like the timing makes sense with a guest is still the stuff that I get kind of excited about. But that's because it's more like with the local shops, it's more personable. It's the people we know. And it's typically like themes that we care about more. And with the interviews, it's a chance to connect with people. But outside of that, it's like, how many times do you and I need to get on here and talk about like the white cement 4 is coming back? What is the impact of that on sneaker culture? It's like, it's going to be whatever. So, just there's not enough of the interviews. It's hard enough to book guests at the rate we do, which is kind of like virtually once a month. To try and fill that out every week would just be a lot of work. And so then we can't just fill all the downtime with like sneaker tier list every week. And like, here's what's coming out every week. It just not the sort of stuff that at least me particularly want to be doing right now.
Yeah. And I think really it's almost like, everything is very cyclical. So like everything for me, and I think for you, really started with local. Obviously all of the insane collabs that Louisiana has done throughout the decade and a half. I think, but also just, kind of like you said, all of the shops like locally. So that's kind of where everything started. And then I think it's kind of one of the things where it's like, I would rather almost like do that, where it's like back when when even way before we started the podcast of just like, hey, let's just go into the shops and just see what they have and just kind of hang out there and kind of kick it. So
I'm kind of enjoying this. Sorry to interrupt. This is for me the first time probably since before we started the podcast where I'm back to that point, because I also just a couple weeks ago just took all the social media off my phone. I'm also kind of in that phase of life right now where I still have like all my accounts. I can access it from my computer, and I try to like no more than once a day, just log on and just get like a quick, like 10 minutes of like what's going on in everyone's life. But I'm kind of back at that point of like, I generally don't know what's currently happening and what's leaking and what's coming up in sneakers. And that does kind of make it a little bit more exciting and nostalgic of like, I can just walk into like Ruckus or Politics, or I'm probably not going to end up in the mall anytime soon, but I can go to the local sneaker store, just see what's on the shelf and be like, oh, I can just see it in person and kind of like get the feel for it right then and there.
Exactly.
If it's gone, if the hype thing is gone, I won't have even know that I missed out on it. And that's actually okay. That's fine. That's
probably better.
Probably better, honestly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree. I know that's been me for a good minute. So,
yeah.
And then, it'll just get back to, again, kind of like, where it was, where Ryan and I just would randomly just be like, oh, check this out. This is coming out, you know. Did you hear about that? X, Y, and Z. So,
yeah, the podcast, at least for me right now, has got to the point where just every week there's not something I'm so excited about that I want to talk about. And so then for a while, we just kind of like pushed through it and made it happen anyways. And I think, at least for me, the creative fulfillment then came from like, where we're still building the brand, we're still growing the channel, everything like that. Except then the views and the metrics were not actually building the brand and growing the channel. So then it was like, oh, we're just grinding, boss. Like we are just like putting in work and like not really getting, and not that like the views and the metrics should be everything, but at least for me, it was becoming everything. And that was kind of like the wake up call of like, okay, well, like I'm not really loving every topic that we're putting on the calendar to talk about. We're not really getting the performance that I want to see out of it. The best thing is that I'm kind of just like hanging out with my best friend for an hour or plus, and we're getting to hang out. And we realized we could do that without recording a podcast. We could actually just get together and hang out and just like chat about whatever we want. So that's kind of what we're getting back to here.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I think we're kind of both in that. I think a lot, for me, I think it'll be just that nice of the like mental health kind of reset aspect of it, where
for sure.
It's one of those things where, when we come back, and, if we do things sporadically or, if we just randomly just hit everybody with, those dope interviews, like you said, if it just comes into, I think that'll be fun.
Like and I think it'll be good. It'll be stuff that we're more genuinely excited about, because just a little inside baseball, a little peek behind the curtain for everyone. On YouTube, when we skip a week of uploading, the majority of our views come from non-subscribers. When we skip a week of uploading and the next week we come back, the views are way down. And it takes a few weeks of consistent weekly uploads to get it back to the level that we like to hover around. Going forward, though, we'll just drop whenever, if ever.
Yeah.
But we'll be excited about the content, and the views tied to it won't be. This is neither of our day jobs. This is neither of our, we're trying to make it work forever. So it's like, we don't need to focus about that. But if we could just be genuinely excited about the content and the product we're putting out, that'll be
dope.
That'll be what we're doing it for. Yeah.
I
Well,
agree.
before we go, we probably have some people we should thank just for the last 6 years. Again, I don't mean to say it in a way of like,
Ooh, yeah.
this is it, we're gone forever.
Never coming back.
Truthfully told, we do not have another thing on the
yeah.
calendar as of right now. So we'll see what happens.
There you go.
Okay, some people to thank. I was thinking about this earlier in the day. Houston.
Okay.
Gotta thank Houston. Kind of the invisible third man of the podcast, if you think about it, you know?
Very much the invisible third man.
Yeah. So shout out Houston if for whatever reason you're listening to this, but even if he's not, if whoever else is and knows who Houston is, Houston, I was thinking about it earlier today. I don't know that we would have ever evolved to a video podcast had it not been for Houston. I don't think we would have had, at least for me, the confidence to start, certainly not the in-person interviews. I never would have got there, but even doing the in-person stuff kind of then motivated us to get the gear to do the at-home stuff that felt like it was better than a Zoom call. So shout out Houston for that, and for all of the photography and for designing the Shoe Podcast logo. The Shoe Podcast logo.
And all for the price of like lunch.
Peanuts. Yeah, which is not to say that's what he's worth. He's worth so much more, but because he's our friend, he was also so often helping us out at such a discounted rate. It was great. So yeah, thank you. Houston for everything and even more that I'm sure we're forgetting from there.
Oh my God, yeah.
Ness, we got to thank Ness for everything she did for the podcast. For all of the, she did the, I'm forgetting it, the Sneakers of Louisiana print, the design on that, all the stickers of the shoe flips, the Soulmate t-shirt, she brought that to life. All of the, pretty much all the graphic stuff aside from, she did the original State of the Shoe logo, but the Shoe Podcast logo, Houston did that one. But thank you, Ness, for all of your contributions to everything as well.
Oh, yeah. She beefed up the digital marketing.
Truly. Shout out Mason, who helped with the current version of the website and a lot of the tech stuff that was going on there. It was, for some reason, complicated. He helped us out with it, so that's great. And then from there, anyone who ever came on for an interview, anyone who ever took a free sticker, bought merch from us, whether that was a print or a t-shirt, all the people who subscribed, followed wherever, the Discord community, the tight-knit group of like super fans that really joined up there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty more people. Anyone that kind of, the boys at Ruckus, the guys at Politics, shout out the hometown team. Always love.
Yes.
Thank you guys for always looking out for us and, showing us love for what we were doing over here. It was always felt, always appreciated. Yeah.
Honestly, just like you said, just so many people who I kind of think back to like the early, like first little interviews that we had, being able to sit down with like Adam and Cody.
And shout out Houston for not only running the cameras, but for sitting in the chair for the very first one we ever did, the guinea pig. Yeah.
There you go. There were so many things, like you said, really what I'm thankful for is that people were showing us so much love and like thinking of us and like, hey, I think you guys should, do this, or I want to hook you all up, X, Y, and Z. It's been insane, thinking back to Dizygotic, of doing an episode and them reaching out and being like, hey, we think, X, Y, and Z, and we think, we really stand by this. And again, that was the thing. I was like, not even small potatoes. We're so small.
French fries, crumbs,
crumbs. And, like to have that moment, that'll be something that like, I'll never forget, of sitting in Mel's and Ryan being like, you have to pick up the call,
so like someone wants to send us shoes.
Yeah. Like that is just so crazy. And like you said, everyone at Ruckus, everyone at Politics,
add John Anthony to that list as well, who got us some shoes to review. Thank you, John Anthony, as well.
Yeah. Like I said, just to, it was always one of the things where it's like, oh, you're the Shoe Podcast guys, so-and-so, you were doing an interview, like insane.
Real quick, thank you everyone who, while we were State of the Union, kept calling us the Shoe Podcast guys and making us realize it was time to change the name to Shoe Podcast. Thank you, everyone. Your contributions more than anything were felt on this show. Yeah.
And then that moment where Ryan's like, you'll never guess what Instagram
turns out Shoe Podcast is available and shoepodcast.com is available, which we do intend to squat and sit on because they are ours and we have them. So we're gonna park there. Yeah. And like I said, really, honestly, just literally every single person who took time to schedule to let us come and interview and most, especially, after the first few interviews we're doing on site. So again, people would either stay late after they worked open
full
the shop
day.
Early. Yeah.
Open. Exactly. We're, they're coming in, open that door at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. So we could set up and get things right to interview before their shop opens. And then they work an entire day. So, every single person we interviewed was just an unbelievable honor to sit down and just a wild thing. And talking to people so high up with making shoes. And it like you said, it's just one of those things where to think when we first got into sneakers to then being able to talk to people who like helped design a shoe and were there from, concept to reality. It's just, it's weird to think that funny pun text from Ryan led to being able to talk to those people. And, it's just absolutely very, very thankful to everybody.
Yeah. I'm getting all sentimental talking about it. Now I'm like the batteries in my back and I'm like, let's go back. Let's do more. But I don't have anything lined up. Like I don't have anything to talk about. I'm like, I just want to do this thing some more. And, again, to that point, we'll maybe come back at some point with something. I got to imagine a lot of the local stuff will get us excited enough that we'll want to do something for again. So hopefully that at least. Sure. Yeah. Well,
and it may be one of those things where we get back to that and we, like I said, we start maybe doing that. And then, like you said, exactly. A little recharge.
Yeah.
That's all we need. We need a little recharge.
A little time off. Your boys are tired. 6 years, nearly every week. This is, you have any guess without looking at the Google Doc? I don't know how much you've been paying attention. What episode number this will be for us?
Gotta be like 3 something. No,
not 3. Yeah. That'd be cool. But no, not 3.
I'm going to say 274.
226. So we haven't done every week. We don't do like 50 episodes a year nearly, but this is 226. 227 if you count the fact that I think you talked us into the first episode being episode 0, which I don't think I was a big fan of, but I think we agreed to it. So I think this is episode 227 technically, but 226 by name. Yeah, so that's not bad. Like 220 something episodes, not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yep. Well,
I'll hang my hat on that.
Is there anything? I'm trying to think. I mean, we didn't have anything planned. I feel like that was a good bit of we're taking a break. So. Here's why. Here's some people we need to thank. It's so bad because I'm sure there's someone that we want to call out more by name that I'm not thinking of, but I think we hit the main people. Real quick, I'm going to run through the interview list because I feel like the interview guests, the people that came on the show, will give quick further shout outs to. So one moment here.
Boy, I am clipped and frozen in such
Oh, you are? I'm so sorry. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see it. How bad was it? Was it bad? Oh, it was bad? Sorry.
It was
sorry.
But
that's on me. Okay. Starting from
just
the top.
Zoom in tight on it.
Houston, we mentioned. Joe Champ with Lean Doers. Adam. Shout out Adam in so many ways across all the years for showing us support. To that note, 100%. Cody Duet with Like Sushi. I've been calling him Cody Duet for years, and I think I just heard him recently introduce himself as Cody Duet. Cody, please let me know if I've been butchering the name for years. The Cody episode is crazy.
Cody.
And there's part of it that has to stay in the archives forever.
Yeah.
You and I should I haven't watched it since we recorded it, but
I should know me either.
We should get back and watch it at some point.
That was that one was like the one where I was like, oh, this was wild. Like this was, and then I think it was the like kind of that was where the like the thing of like, oh, maybe we should interview people.
Yeah.
kind of in their
in
domain.
their space. Yeah, that was the first one we did on location. Yeah. Well, technically, the next one was Blaine. We did Blaine and Cody the same day we did Blaine first. But yeah, to the first one we released.
True.
Shout out Blaine, another phenomenal episode. Devin
Amazing.
over at Ruckus, what a fun time.
The man. The
one and only. Shout out Alfred Banks, the only three-peat guest. Could have him on every week and have a good time.
Oh yeah.
Aiden over at 90s Kids, Stu from Sneaker Politics, Trey over at Full Court, which was the first episode we did on our own without Houston. Scary time. Baby Bird's got to leave the nest at some point.
That was a good one too. I like that
DJ Hennessy, who very kindly let us know as soon as the episode wrapped and we all went out to dinner together. I thought you guys were going to ask me why they called me DJ Hennessy. I still think about that sometimes. Yeah, a good interviewer probably would have asked you that. You're right.
Probably would, yeah. Probably would. First question.
Daniel Baruch, Infectious Energy. Love that guy. Such a good time.
God.
The guys over at Lavish Life Sneakers, thank you so much for having us. John and Harold,
kept the
what
doors,
a fun time.
The lights on late.
They went late for us. That was really nice. Everyone who sat on the street with us at the Voodoo Vintage pop-up, that was a fun time.
That was a great one. Yeah.
Hunter, Jay, and Club for doing the Ruckus and Nike SB Crawfish Dunk 10-year anniversary with us last year. That was a real special episode. That was like very much like, if we could do that every week, I'd do that every week, you know?
Yeah, and came out so good for like a 5-person Zoom call.
Yeah. Surprisingly organized enough and not everyone stepping on each other's toes. And last but certainly not least, Ben Bernal over at Sneaker Politics. The man, the guy who hooks it all up and does everything. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone, whoever came on the show. Again, thank you, everyone who ever listened, left a comment. There were some real funny ones. There were some real mean ones, but the mean ones were funnier than the funny ones, so that was even better. Everyone who subscribed, followed, however you interacted. Last and certainly not least, my deepest and most sincere apologies once more to the guy we accidentally grilled in front of 1.5 million viewers on an Instagram short. We did not mean for that to take off in the way that it did.
But it sure did.
So sorry. It really do be the content that you're not trying to do anything with that actually does something. Our condolences once again for that.
Sorry. But I think, hopefully, hooked you up in a way. Also, I guess really should thank the wives for
putting up with these. If anyone did work, it was them for letting us do this thing for 6 years. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
These antics.
and indulging the habit. Of that. So, and they did a little game show. But
they were on the show. Yeah. In a way, which a lot of people to this day tell me that's their favorite episode. So I'm glad we did it. That was a fun one.
There you go. Yeah, it was good.
Yep. There it is. We should leave it while it's good. You know what? I will go ahead and run them anyways. If you want to follow us anywhere online, it's going to be pretty quiet. It's kind of more at this point of like, if you want a copy of the archive, if you want to see the record, the yearbook or something like that, you can find us online at shoepodcast.com, across social at shoepodcast. It wouldn't hurt if you subscribed, but it also would not be doing too much for us right now. And lastly, the Discord may or may not still be active. We might go ahead and just turn it off at this point. But
if anything hit the YouTube's going to be, I guess it would be weird to be like, wow, like this be your first episode tuning in. But let me tell you what, if it is, you have an insane backlog. That'd be great. You're going to love it.
Real big archive there over on YouTube. Yeah. So, and to
you're
that
gonna love
point,
it, so.
You probably want to be subscribed and following us somewhere so that when we do emerge from our hibernation,
ding dong, hello,
you're first to know. The boys are back in town. Then Lizzie.
So now you got to ring the bell and do all that stuff because we don't have a schedule anymore. So you'll never know.
True.
You got to ring the bell.
We'll come back whenever. That's right. Well, feels weird to say it, but for one last time for now, but not forever. Thank you, everyone, for checking out another episode of Shoe Podcast. We'll be back, we assume, at some point with something, but at this point, who knows? I am your co-host, Ryan Landry.
I'm your co-host, Tanner Young.
I almost just got my name wrong. And that's like the simplest part of this whole thing, you know? We're rusty. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you at some point. Bye.